Happy Sunday, all you Minties. This is the Uncanny Omar, and today, join me for an overview of the Spawn Compendium Volume 2 from Image Comics. So, let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before getting started, a huge thank you to Organic Price Books for sending us a copy of this compendium. So this compendium is out already in the direct market. It will be coming to the book market here in the next week or so. Actually, in a couple weeks. December 28th is the date that I have for the book market. But direct market, like your local comic book shop or Organic Price Books or Walt's Comic Shop, Reed's Comic Shop, wherever you get your comics through the direct market, they should already have it. So, the follow-up to the Compendium Volume 1, collecting issues 51 through 100. We're going to be taking a closer look at the artwork in here and doing an overview of the book itself. But here is what the cover looks like. It is one penciled by Greg Capullo and inked by Todd McFarlane, which you're going to be seeing a lot of that in here. Keeping to the uniform of the Volume 1 compendium, here is the logo up at the top, Image, the Spawn logo, Compendium, Volume 2, and then the back of the book with this image of Spawn again, penciled by Greg Capullo, and then inks by Todd McFarlane. Retail price of this is $59.99, and definitely mature content. So for those that were asking me on the live stream yesterday if this is oversized, a compendium usually, with a few exceptions that I can think of just one off the top of my head, the IDW Lock and Key compendium, it's an omnibus size, but compendiums are usually the size and dimensions of those trade paperbacks. So for example, this is the X of Swords trade paperback from Marvel Comics, and you can tell that it's the exact same dimensions. So these trade paperbacks are the dimensions of single issue comics. So here it is compared to the size of an omnibus, and they are smaller than an omnibus. And of course, the other big thing about most compendiums, with the exception of Lock and Key, is that they are softcover. They're not hardcover. So let's get this book open, look at the beautiful artwork, talk about some of the stories without going into spoilers, and then of course take a look at the build of this particular compendium. Alright, let's get this book opened. So Spawn Compendium Volume 2. On the right hand side here, you'll see the credits. Todd McFarlane doing the story, pencils and inks, so he is doing some of the pencils. And then additional story, his co-plotter joins him in issue 71 as Brian Hogan. And then the other pencils, of course, mainly Greg Capullo, Dwayne Turner. But of course, Todd McFarlane gets top billing because this is, after all, his character. And kicking it off with issue 51. So this collects issues 51 through 100. And it is absolutely in full color. So this kicks off with the story of Spawn traveling through hell. And I remember coming back and reading this stuff, because this is the stuff that I hadn't read until I came back to comics. And I picked up the deluxe editions. And on the Saturday stream, I shared a little bit of where I was in my life when I was reading these. And it was when my father-in-law was sick and hospice came in. So this was like almost, oh my goodness, 2013. So that's when I read these particular stories. So the comics and my life in comics always will remind me of where I was in my life when I was reading these originally. But they originally came out for most people in the late 90s and the early aughts is when these stories originally came out. I just didn't read them until 2012 and 2013. So this is my favorite part about this, is that he gets to fight a buck-naked savage dragon. Probably my favorite Image comic at the time when it came out, when Image first had their first 7 issues, even though Wetworks was delayed because sadly Will Spertasio had health issues, not him, but he had health issues within his family. But I enjoyed this because it was Greg Capullo drawing Savage Dragon, and yeah, he was naked, but who cares? It was such a fun story, and that's mainly what I remember about the big fight with Savage Dragon. He was just naked, and it all took place in hell. And then we get the return of another villain. There's a lot of returning characters in here. Volume 1 introduced... comparing it to something like Spider-Man, the Silver Age Volume 1, where they introduced so many characters, or Fantastic Four Silver Age Volume 1, they introduced so many characters in the first compendium that in the second compendium, there really isn't that many first appearances. There is a little bit of a retcon with one of the stories that they previously told. And I don't want to say a retcon, it was just that they had to get away from ties to other Image books. So the story that featured a character from Youngblood had to be tweaked a little bit, and it's pretty much the story of Spawn trying to figure out who killed him. He's been going through all these issues not knowing exactly who killed him, being lied to as to who the real person behind Al Simmons' murder was. And if you're not familiar with the character of Spawn, really easy. Al Simmons was a mercenary, got killed, sent to hell, and came back as the Hellspawn here on Earth. However, he is caught in a battle between heaven and hell. He really doesn't have a side he leans on. Most of us think of him as a superhero when reading this stuff, and others think, no, he's more of an anti-hero, more like the Punisher. But back to what I was saying, this doesn't have a lot of first appearances. I know that Jessica Priest makes her first appearance in one of these issues. You also have issue, 77? It's one of my favorite covers. And that one shows the first appearance of the Archangel Spawn. And then you have Urizen, and he appears later on, like almost towards the end with Ab and Zab. That's pretty much it, if you're looking for first appearances. Spawn does change the way that he looks for a while. He has, like, this gun outfit. He stops wearing his mask less and less. You have the return of Angela in here, and she makes a big triumphant return. This is the way Spawn looked for a while. He has a bunch of guns, a bunch of ammo strapped on him. You have returning villains like the Freak, Cygor comes in, Jason Wynn, all these characters from the past. And then Cyan, the little girl, man, she has it rough through here. She gets kidnapped by the Clown, she just gets kidnapped by Billy Kincaid, and Billy Kincaid, man, that story, it is dark as hell. It was the character that was first introduced in the early issues of Spawn, co-created by, I believe, Alan Morris, who wrote that particular story about this. Pretty much is the story of this serial killer that focused on killing children. And it is a dark story. No matter, even if you were a kid reading this stuff like I was, or now I'm 43 years old, it's still pretty damn messed up. But he makes a return here, and how you can find out exactly. And so, like I said, the Clown also makes a return. Sam and Twitch play a big part in this. And I believe this is the story where Twitch ends up getting shot, and he's taken out of commission for a while. But the main thing I want you to focus on is this artwork. This is Greg Capullo, not only inked by Todd McFarlane, so it has this Todd McFarlane feel to his art, but just look at that. That is freaking awesome. The colors were great. But Danny Mickey steps in as the inker, and Danny Mickey has just blown up since the early days of, I think he first started at Extreme Studios, so places like Youngblood is where you're going to see a lot of his older stuff. And he just has blown up. He's doing mainstream stuff nowadays, just to become an inker everywhere at Marvel and at DC. There is a beautiful moment here between Al Simmons and Terry Fitzgerald. Terry is now the man that is married to Al Simmons' wife, because Al died, right? And he was gone. He went to hell, became a Hellspawn. His wife moved on. They had a kid together, and that's what I meant by Cyan. The little girl's name is Cyan. And there's also big news for the Fitzgerald family. So it was nice to see them do a nice team up. And then we have like this weird issue where Spawn could be getting his flesh back. Not a big deal, but as you could probably tell from most of this, Spawn's flesh is rotting, right? So he can't show himself to his loved ones going, hey, I'm back. So it's like this tortured soul type of story. But like I mentioned, other than Cygor, the Freak returns, Angela returns, Billy Kincaid, the Clown, and of course, Megalobolia right here in this awesome issue with Granny. There's a huge fight in issue 100 that leaves one of the characters taken out, dead. You can find out exactly who, maybe more than one character. Now, when I mentioned one of my favorite issues, actually, there's an issue in here. So, issue 76 and 77 are drawn by Dwayne Turner, and the inks are done by Danny Mickey. And Danny Mickey's inks just makes it just flow so well. You can't barely tell the difference between Greg Capullo's artwork and Dwayne Turner's artwork, unless you're really paying attention. It's actually a pretty good story here. Issue 77 is one of my favorite covers of all time. It's the Archangel cover. So speaking of covers, much like Volume 1, there are no covers collected in here. And this is another one that's drawn by Dwayne Turner. He only had a couple of fill-in issues. Danny Mickey just kicking all kinds of ass with his inks. And let's show some of the artwork later on. And one of my favorite things about Greg Capullo's artwork, inks by Danny Mickey and Todd McFarlane, it's just the amount of detail, all the wrinkles, all the warts, all the boils, like everything nasty and gritty about the dark alley where Spawn mainly hangs out, even though he starts out in hell and then he goes to heaven, and there's this whole war between them, and then, but mainly in the back alleys, man, it is all in there. Like that, there's some, like, even the people eating is so gross sometimes, but that's Capullo's artwork. So I've been a big fan of his since his days in Quasar. Then he moved over to X-Force, and then of course he was given Spawn for a couple of fill-in issues, and then McFarlane said, hey, I want to hire you full-time. And then he blew up in this little independent title called Batman with Scott Snyder. And this is where you're going to find where he pretty much perfected his art, just making it look creepy and just purely amazing, and ass-kicking, adrenaline-driven action scenes. He's a phenomenal artist, and man, look at that detail. Look at the nails being, you know, somebody's chewed on his nails. He's dragged them through concrete. He's just so amazing, like the attention to detail on the veins on the eyes, the reflection on the eyeballs. Anyway, this is Spawn Compendium Volume 2, retailing for $59.99, collecting issues 51 through 100, all in full color, with 1,084 pages in it. Now, as far as the extras in the back, just like Volume 1, no real extras, just this picture right here, which is the cover. Now, as far as the build, because we do have to talk about that, the paper quality is this glossy paper. It's not really thick. Can't be too thick, right? Not when you have a softcover book that has almost 1,100 pages. So, being softcover, it does mean that the spine looks like this. Now, this is, you know, I have to do a review of this. So, over time, when people read it, I always have this fear of a crease forming down the middle. Right? I mean, it's going to happen. No matter how careful you are laying your book, even if you're trying to read it like this, just over time, the more and more you read it, it's going to form a crease. So, I did give this an unusual test. I had to fold it over. I had to, you know, to make it like I had been reading this over and over again, just to test that spine out. And after some time, after, you know, folding it over like this, so here is what the spine looks like. I have to shine it up against the light so you can see it, because it's not real visible when you're not shining the light right on it, but it does have a crease. Now, I put it in unusual reading conditions. Nobody is going to read the book like I did, but I had to test it. As a reviewer, I have to be fair, and it might cause, you know, a crease down the middle, but that might show that the book is well loved, like my buddy Hip Hop told me one day, which makes a lot of sense. But since this is a review of the book, you may or may not get that crease. You may be extra careful with the book, and, you know, but over time, just like the previous compendiums, which is why I had an issue with them, I think Volume 1 is built better than this, because I put them both through the same test, and Volume 1 never got a crease down the middle. This one, it's got a minor crease, but it's there. So, you know, keep that in mind. But that, as they say, is that. If you are interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely in an excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for your mentees. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by near mint condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this compendium. Let me know in the comments down below if this is the way you're going to be collecting Spawn going forward, or if you want a hardcover or these in oversized deluxe edition hardcovers. I would love to know what you think about this particular series. If you've read Spawn and how much it means to you, are you just somebody that loves looking at the pictures and the story is okay with you, or you think it's one of the best stories you've ever read and you love the pictures and this is the perfect comic book? Again, leave all those comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. And more importantly, everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.